Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. Introducing your host from New York, here is Sam Roberts.
All right, should we get another guest out here, do you think? All right. Well, I didn't tell you which guest it was.
Is it Evan Anderhold? He's the jobber from Monday Night Raw 2 weeks ago. Come on, people, keep up.
I feel like after James Elroy or whatever, the Ellsworth. See, I know. That's the name everybody remembers. Other than that, it's just, you know.
We love jobbers.
They're the best. They're the best, but our next guest is far from it.
Yes.
Our next guest is nothing but a winner. He's going to be at SummerSlam Sunday night in a big tag match, teaming with Chris Jericho against Enzo and Cass. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kevin Owens. Oh, yeah. There he is. Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is here.
This chair is definitely going to break.
Yeah, I don't know if it was originally a
Stand
rocking
up,
chair.
stand up.
We're going to do a swap.
Yep.
This one feels a little
That's what's going to happen.
Good idea.
Yep.
You got to know your surroundings. Is that better?
It's not better.
It isn't, is it?
It's not. I just noticed the wood's gone.
Huh.
If I don't make it to SummerSlam, it's Sam's fault.
That's right. That's right. I'll catch you if you fall. Don't
All
worry,
right.
dude.
That's not going to end well for you. And I like spending time with you. Thank you.
Very good. How
Wait your turn.
how happy were you when you show up and you had the same music in NXT, when you hear that music? Because it's some of the coolest music on the roster. It fits perfectly, and it could go terribly wrong music.
Full disclosure, I wasn't a fan of the music at first.
You didn't like it?
No, I just didn't feel it. And then I listened to it more and more, and I actually got the music maybe 3 months before, well, 2 months before I started in NXT, because I was down in NXT for 2 months before I actually had my first match. So I'd drive to the NXT shows where I wouldn't be wrestling. I would just be watching and drive up and down and just listen to the music and try to get a feel for it, and eventually grew on me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now you love it.
I do, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and now it's part of who I am. It just, I guess it wasn't at first. It just took some time to get used to it.
It's kind of amazing that you went through all that time just watching
The
those
first
shows.
3 months I was in NXT, so me, Finn Balor, and Hideo Itami were sitting watching beginner training, guys that have never been in the ring before doing rolls. The three of us for a month, just staring and. But that's that's the way they do it.
I have to tell you, I remember a couple years back, 2K was doing like a press thing.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And they let us all in.
Me, Finn, and Hideo just rolling
Yeah,
one by
like
one.
I'm videoing the thing because
Yeah.
you, Finn, and Hideo are doing rolls.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do they need to?
I mean, now I know how to roll.
That's right. It's important. It's important. Do you feel like that's gone away, kind of? Right? Like, if you got signed today, I would think that would be a much more quick process.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've kind of changed the way they did it. They were just doing it that way because that's what they would do for everybody. As soon as you get signed, you just spend a month. It was also a matter of, I relocated my entire family to Florida when I first signed with the WWE, so it was a matter of, if you got to take a day off to go do something, to take care of something of your house, or just, I had to sign up my son for school, then you're not missing training, you're just missing observing training. So it's it was kind of their way to just get people, give some time.
Acclimated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I think, Matt Bloom took over there, and I think he's kind of changed the way it is. But, honestly, I'm not, that first month, of course, I could have, I could have gone without watching, a dude roll for, 3 hours. But NXT in itself and the time I spent there wasn't incredibly valuable for me once I got to Raw and SmackDown and everything. So I look back very fondly on it.
Yeah.
Maybe one of my favorite stories that you shared with Sam and I, was the early stages of actually coming up with the first KO shirt.
Yeah.
Can you retell that story? It's one of the most iconic KO stories.
Well, I'm not even sure which story you're talking about. I'll tell you the only story I know about the first KO. Okay, so the original idea was, a lot of people asked me about this particular shirt because it was in the vignettes before I got to NXT, was this kind of paint design. That came about because a week after I got to NXT, they would do this thing where they would just kind of get people in the ring and record footage of them, just bouncing around in the ring and just kind of making faces and just, for the entrance video and stuff like that, or for the video packages that they do. And at that point, I had no identity. I didn't know what my name was going to be. I didn't know what they expected from me. I had no idea. I'd been there for a week. So I had nice, clean wrestling singlets made with that, super pro wrestler. And I was like, this looks terrible. And then I had it on and I was about to go do my thing. And Enzo walked past me and said, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm a wrestler. He's like, no, wear your shorts and your shirt that, But then I didn't have a shirt, so I flipped a Guns N' Roses shirt I had inside out, and I used Finn Balor's paint to write "Fight Me" on it. And then they kind of liked the look of that, and then we made an actual shirt with printed, the paint thing. For some reason, we couldn't get the paint approved by the legal department for the shirt, and that's when the duct tape came about. And the original duct tape that I had was actual, they were making the shirt with the duct tape that guy's wearing right there.
Right.
So my gear, they wanted to look somewhat like that. So they had actual duct tape sewed onto a shirt, and it looked terrible. So I'm getting ready for my match on my first match in NXT, and I put the shirt on, and I had matching shorts, and I look at William Regal, and he's just looking at me like, oh. So I'm like, I know, I can't wear this. And then I saw that one because I hadn't seen it yet. And I'm like, oh, I'll just cut the sleeves off that and wear it. And everybody's like, yeah, okay. And here we go. So somewhere in my house, there's an actual duct tape shirt that kind of looks like that, but not really.
And it's sewn.
It's the duct tape. It's actual duct tape that was sewn on. And you guys are never going to get to see it because it's terrible.
That's a wise move. Do you have any idea why you seem to come up from NXT way quicker than anybody else?
Oh yeah, I'm really good.
Is that what that's what it was? That was my theory.
All right. I know it seems like I was joking, but that literally is the reason.
Was there anybody that saw you, that you caught somebody's eye? Did Vince McMahon watch you wrestle that match with John Cena and say, okay, I need him here regularly?
Well, I mean, by the time I showed up on Raw that Monday to confront Cena, I had already been told you're on the main roster permanently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know who saw what. Obviously, I know Triple H. Triple H is the reason I'm here. He took the chance on me originally, and obviously he had a big part to play in it. But I don't know who saw what and made them decide that it was time for me to come up when. The usual way to go about things back then to get called from NXT, it could take years.
Yeah. I mean, Finn Balor, he was the guy.
I also feel like honestly, I was probably at the right place at the right time because at that point, John Cena needed somebody to work with that people would be excited to see him work with, and I think I was the guy. And it's funny because when I first signed with WWE, my goal was to work with Cena. I got to do it right away, so it was a hell of a way to start. Yeah.
You seem like. A lot. I feel like there's two different. There's a bunch of guys that seem very comfortable on TV. Like when I watch you and a couple of other guys, I believe what I'm being told. I believe that the Kevin Owens on TV when he's on TV is that person and blah blah blah. And then you can also, and it's less now than it used to be, but it used to be a lot of people that it kind of felt like they were following instructions, reading a script or whatever it was. Did you get kind of a little more freedom from the beginning, or do you just have the ability to, okay, I see what this is, and turn it into something that feels like yours?
I mean, I've never been handed a script and been told you have to say exactly that. Mm-hmm. Never. Mm-hmm. I don't know about other people, but I've never been told that. I get the gist of where I'm going and what I'm supposed to say or what I'm supposed to feel, but also I like to throw in my own twist on it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people do that. I think pretty much everyone does that, and I think that's, it's up to you as a performer to make sure that you're putting out the best version of yourself out there that you can be. So if they're giving you something that you're not feeling, you have to let it know. I don't know if anybody does. Maybe some people don't.
Right.
But I've always been encouraged to give ideas and speak my mind, and as far as I know, that's encouraged for everybody. So
When did you start, as part of your wrestling style, being the type that interacts with the fans while the match is on? That if you put a rest hold on because you know they'll boo, and then you'll yell at them while you're doing that. I feel like. Go ahead.
So it started. I guess I was kind of doing it a little bit before then, but in 2005 I was traveling to PWG.
I was going to ask if it was a PWG thing.
And
Yeah.
it wasn't a PWG thing, really. What happened is, while we were on a layover, I was with Sami Zayn. You guys know him. He's all right. So he went off to do whatever he does when people aren't around him. And I was walking towards a water fountain, and we were waiting for our connection. We were in Texas, and I saw Steve Austin just waiting in the corner by himself. And I'm like, I'm not going to say the word that Carl Anderson said earlier. That's Steve Austin. So I walked back, and you guys have to understand, at that point, well, still today, but at that point, I was the biggest. And I know there's a cliche, like I was the biggest fan. No. My room, and I was like 20 years old. My bedroom was plastered with Stone Cold Steve Austin posters everywhere. No, I didn't. I had a black bed sheet, but that's weird. I don't know why I just told you that. But.
That is. Yeah, bro.
Okay.
Bed sheets.
Here's the thing. My bedroom the walls were black, but you couldn't tell because, I'm not kidding. This isn't an expression like, oh yeah, I have so many. No. Every inch of my walls were covered with Steve Austin posters because I was the biggest Steve Austin fan.
And you were also wrestling at this time.
Yes,
you
I was
were
already
a
wrestling.
wrestler.
I was an adult. Like, these were choices I made. So I went over to Sammy. I'm like, we gotta go talk to Steve Austin. And he's like, what? And I didn't want to alert everybody, around. So I'm like, we gotta go talk to Steve Austin. So
doing the jerk.
So he starts walking. He's like, who are we fighting? Like, he thought we were gonna, which is, I almost feel bad about stabbing him in the back now. He was just willing to fight. I'm coming. Who we fight? Anyway, so then we saw Steve Austin, and he's like, that's not Steve Austin. It is. So we walked over, and he was the coolest dude, and we took pictures. And then right before he got on the flight before us, because it was first class, I said, hey, do you have any advice for us? We're wrestlers, we're going to the show in California, and he told me to just keep running my mouth all the time. And I was already kind of doing it,
right.
But then when he said it, just exploded. And like that, the next day while I wrestled in PWG, I just talked so much
crap.
Yes.
Yeah.
There it is. And it just snowballed from there, and now I won't shut up.
Yeah, no, and it's great. I mean, I have to tell you, after the Beast from the East show, that's the title match with Finn. I think Katie and I are in agreement that our favorite parts of the matches are, number one, in the beginning, when you chuck the flowers.
I don't need flowers.
Yeah,
I don't
what do
need
you
flowers.
Need them for?
I'm a man. I don't need flowers. I don't want flowers. I don't like.
But it's tradition,
I don't care.
The
That's
streamers
the
were stupid.
Right.
Yeah, he added that in.
Well, yeah.
Right, and then I believe it was some kind of a chin lock, and the quote was, I hate your stupid country and everyone in it. And what I'm saying is it felt real.
I'm going to take that back, though, because I went back since. They're always so welcoming, so I strongly dislike their country. But I don't hate it anymore.
And most of the people in it.
Well, because they have that raw fish everywhere.
Right.
I don't eat that.
You're not a sushi guy.
And then back when I was in Japan for 2006, I spent 2 months there. I really enjoyed myself. I was at the dojo for Dragon Gate, which was the promotion I was working for at the time, and I'd go out of the dojo on my days off, and I'd go to this little convenience store, and they had like spaghetti. It was really good. Then I went back, no more spaghetti. Just raw fish. I hate it.
Spaghetti?
That's how it works.
Yeah.
You take away my spaghetti, my carbs, I don't like you anymore.
Right. What a bummer. What do you eat on the road?
Carbs.
That's it.
I mean, I don't know if you guys are going to believe that, but I don't have the most strict diet. I don't know. I just eat things.
Yeah.
I just had a lovely chicken sandwich from across the street. It was nice.
It's great.
That's it.
It's great.
So far, that's all I've eaten all day so far, so I'll let you know later.
All right. Yeah. Please do. Please do. I was thinking about your Twitter activity just last night. I was going through your Twitter, and then I watched an interview with you, and you kind of explained your philosophy on blocking people and responding to people who insult you. But I have to ask you, you're smart enough to know that there's a high percentage of people
Just the block, yeah.
that are sending you insults because they want to be, I got Kevin and Owens to get all fired up. And
Hey, that's fine if I make them feel... I've been on Twitter a lot less lately, though, and I know people have noticed, some people, I don't know if you guys did, whatever. I don't really enjoy Twitter anymore, I'll be perfectly honest, because... there's way too many morons out there. And I'm not talking about wrestling fans. I'm talking about in life. Like, various events have happened throughout the world that are really terrible, and then you read what people think about it, and the only opinion you should have is that it sucks and it shouldn't happen. You don't need to tell other people why they're wrong for the way they think. And at one point, I just had to get off. I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't really go on there anymore. If anybody of you insulted me recently, sorry. I probably won't block you anytime soon. But yeah, I've greatly reduced my Twitter activity for fault of idiots. So.
yeah. Bummer for all the people that were insulting you.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I have to commend you, though. Taking what you do best and using your voice as a platform with the raising of the funds on, it was Indiegogo, right?
It was
Kickstarter?
GoFundMe. Yeah.
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
That went very successful.
It actually, and I'm sure there's quite a few in this room actually that and I'm glad you brought this up. So me and Tyler Breeze decided we wanted to do something for the people that were affected by the fires in Alberta because we're both Canadian, and my grandparents lost their house to a fire, when I was a kid, and Tyler's dad worked in that area. So we were both just kind of personally affected by it in a way, or just personally touched by it. So we set out this campaign. We wanted to raise $30,000 in 2 weeks. We raised it in 3 days. We said we'd follow everyone who donated, and we'd send videos to everyone who donated over a certain amount. A lot of people are still waiting for the follows, and a lot of people are still waiting for the videos. And the reason for that is that the response was so incredible that honestly we're just too busy to get around to it. Like we followed a whole bunch of people, and there's somebody that was helping us out doing it, and now that person's busy doing something else. So we're kind of doing it on our own when we can. We haven't sent any videos out yet, which I'm very ashamed of because I wish we could have done it. And now it's even more complicated because we're on separate brands. But thank you to everybody who donated and people watching. We both really appreciate it. We ended up donating $66,000 to the Canadian Red Cross, which in Canadian I think ended up being like 85 or something like that, which is amazing. I'm sorry if you haven't gotten your video. I'm sorry if we haven't followed you yet. It's all going to come. It might take a year. I don't know. But we're going to get to it. I'm a man of my word, and I promise you're going to get what you expected.
And hopefully a lot of the donations were made because they actually wanted to help.
I feel like, 95% of the donations were made, and they probably don't care if I follow them back and, read about what they ate that day or something. Right. But, and there's still people who donated because they wanted it back, and that's fine. I respect that. They expect it. I have to do it, and I will do it. I'll get around to it. I promise.
Did you have to when you and Sami started on your battles inside the WWE? Did you have to educate anybody as to what the history was, or did you come in and people who were responsible for those decisions kind of know?
Well, they kind of knew because when I had my tryout. You have to cut this 1 minute promo to the camera and the coaches, and the people that are basically decide whether you get hired or not. And mine was about Sami. And I was lucky because William Regal told me, don't worry about going a minute, just talk. And I just spoke from the heart. Because at that point, I had very particular feelings about him being in WWE and me not being there. And I don't know if it'll ever see the light of day, honestly. I keep hearing these rumors of maybe a Kevin Owens DVD being made, which you can't. Don't clap, because it might not happen. But if that's the case, wait, everyone clap. Now they got to do it. But if that ever comes to fruition, hopefully it'll end up on there. And that promo one, I'm pretty sure got me hired right then and there on the spot. Because when I finished, I think I saw everybody there like, oh, okay. And then I think it just kind of opened people's minds. Oh, look what could happen. And then it just kind of went from there. So,
yeah. And when you're going into something like the WrestleMania ladder match, where you're taking spots that are obviously in reference to what you did in Ring of Honor with El Generico, obviously a different competitor altogether. But is that something that kind of everybody's aware of, and this is part of the story we're telling, or is that between you two?
I mean, I didn't choose to get slammed on that ladder at Money in the Bank or get dropped on my head at WrestleMania. It's just that dude's
happened.
just really influenced by El Generico and does the same crap to me that guy did. So I don't know.
Kind of a hack.
Yeah, a cheap ripoff, if you ask me.
Were you surprised that I was surprised that the brand split happens? They keep you and Sami together. I kind of felt like they might separate you, but they keep you together. But they do kind of put that story on hold for a while. Were you surprised that story was put on hold when it was, or did you think now is a good time to kind of move on to other things for both of us?
I mean, I think it's a good time to, Battleground was promoted as the last match for a while anyway, and I think it's fine that way. And, Sami Zayn and I bring the best out of each other, and we really do. And if you need proof, just watch Battleground. You know what I mean? And that's, how many times can we do that? I don't know.
Best of 7.
Well, we could, but, the other guys need a chance too. So can't put us together all the time because then
there's nothing left for anybody else.
It's not fair.
I get you. How do you feel about the SummerSlam match? We haven't talked about SummerSlam at all. It's you and Jericho against Enzo and Cass. Do you like the idea of teaming with Jericho? It seems like you have very good chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, we do. It just happens, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we never set out for that. We just kind of did some stuff together leading up to Money in the Bank, and I guess the logical way to go was to keep us together because people seem to enjoy the stuff. And, opposite Enzo and Cass, I think that's an interesting dynamic. But the thing that I enjoy the most about it is that it's fresh and it's new. I never got to wrestle Enzo or Cass in NXT. I never did anything with them. So to get to be in the ring with them on the stage like SummerSlam is great. To get to team with Chris Jericho, who I looked up to for the longest time, that's great too. And, it's just, I like fresh things. I think that's where the brand extension is the most interesting part is. So me and Dolph Ziggler have good matches, but we had like 10 in the span of 2 months. Me and Dean Ambrose were at each other's throat for about 6 months. And I enjoyed both of those, whatever you want to call them, feuds. But now, if we ever meet back up, it might be 2 years down the road, and we're both different people in a way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the best part for me of the Raw and SmackDown having separate rosters is just it creates different opportunities and different matches, and that's why I'm excited to, Enzo and Cass, like I said, I haven't gotten the chance to be in the ring with them, and now we get to do it at SummerSlam in Brooklyn, so it's big right away, and that's pretty cool with Chris Jericho by my side.
Yeah. And, Enzo, it seems like it's very important in your career because it sounds like based on your other story, if it wasn't for Enzo, you might be wrestling in an awful singlet.
I know, so the only thing I can do to repay him is make him really famous at SummerSlam by just obliterating him, in front of his family and friends, and yeah.
Yeah. Do you want, your name has come up twice, at least in my conversations with people. For a long time, it was coming up with Brock Lesnar. That's a match that you're an obvious opponent that people want to see with Brock Lesnar. Lately, with all this Conor McGregor stuff, your name keeps coming up as one of the guys who'd be a clear-cut decision if he were to come to WWE and do something. Is that something you're interested in? I guess either of those guys.
Oh, I'll fight anybody.
You will.
I don't care. Yeah,
You will.
Yeah, he could come. That's cool. I'd love to get in the ring with Lesnar. I don't know if it's ever gonna happen, but I'd love to. And Conor
McGregor?
Yeah, he could come too.
Sure.
Sure.
Whoever that is, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Did you when you lost the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, was that a thing? Was that again something where you look at it as, okay, let's start this next thing, or were you like, I was kind of on a roll with this thing?
Well, I mean, the Intercontinental title was something really special because when I was a kid and I had all the foam title, like the foam belts, the toy ones, the foam championship
Yes.
titles. I really, the Intercontinental title one is the one that I always win when I beat my pillow. Like,
Well, that was the cool one. That
Yeah,
was like the,
I don't know why though.
Yeah.
It was just
that was
it
the
looked-
wrestling fans title.
But even when I was a kid, I just looked cool to me.
Yeah.
And then, it went through a weird couple of years where it looked not like that. It looked like this weird purple thing with the. Anyway, I
a
didn't
big
like.
Southern belt buckle.
And then Cody Rhodes brought back the classic design. And then when he brought it back, I was like, man, I really want to make it to WWE to win it. And then I did. So that was special. Losing it the first time kind of sucked. Losing it the second time obviously sucked because I wish I could have made the title into a lot more, than it was at the time. I wish I could have done a lot more for it. But then somebody brought out the stat that Owen Hart and I both had 2 reigns with the exact same amount of days. And that's
Wow.
probably the coolest thing ever. So I don't ever want to win it again.
Yeah.
I'm all set.
Good call.
Speaking of Owen Hart, your son is named Owen in tribute to Owen Hart. Obviously a big family guy. How has that changed, going from everything that you've done over the years to now?
Big family guy as in I look like Peter Griffin? Or 'cause
That's not
that's
cool.
a little rude.
Yeah, that wasn't nice.
What's up, Sam?
Yeah,
How
we
are you,
should
bud?
do. She said she was going to take shots, but I didn't know
I
this
didn't
early.
say that.
Close enough.
You
Carry
know
on.
what I meant.
Yeah.
But I think she's asking like how has that changed with the WWE
And
way
then
of
I'm
life?
also doing the math, like, if you were 20 and you had the Stone Cold bed sheets, like, how did you and your wife meet? I'm like really
I didn't
curious
have
about
the bed sheets. I had the poster. She's not even listening.
No. By the way, though, this is wrestling journalism. Every website tomorrow. Kevin Owens
I'm
had
pretty
Stone Cold bed
certain
sheets.
This is the truth. Maybe a month before I met my wife, or 2 months before I met my wife, I had to take down all the posters because my parents were renovating. So my wife never witnessed that, which is probably why I'm married and have kids now.
But she did get a taste of it when you were like, I want to name
She's-
got to name my kid after a
she's
wrestler.
fully aware of.
Yeah.
This
I mean,
could
she was
also
fully
be the
aware
reason
from.
why I'm still single, because I have the bed sheets. The I'm kidding.
It hasn't changed. Like my family's at the hotel right now. I brought my wife and my 2 kids, and they're just gonna stay in the hotel all week while I come back and forth doing this stuff. They're gonna come to SummerSlam. I brought them to WrestleMania. I bring them anywhere. If I'm wrestling, for example, like I was wrestling in Boston not too long ago, and then the next day I was in Florida.
Right.
So everybody would do the show in Boston, then fly from Logan Airport to Orlando, or I think we were in Jacksonville. But what I did was I brought my wife and the kids because it's only a 5-hour drive from Montreal. We spent a couple days in Boston. I brought my son to the show. Then I drove back through the night to Montreal to drop them off so I could catch a flight Saturday morning from Montreal to Florida. I don't know, some guys think that's a little crazy, I guess, I guess the guys who don't have kids think it's a little crazy for me to drive back 6 hours, but to me it's completely worth it because we're on the road a lot. Obviously, we travel the world, and this gives us a great living, but I try to spend as much time as I can with them, and that's just my way of doing it. So it's, I found ways to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever regret making them as public as you've made them? Not that you haven't brought them out, but they are part of the storylines. And
Well, they're not really part of the storylines. I'll mention my son, like with the Cena thing, because that's genuine, and I think a lot of thing that has worked for me throughout the years is that I'm pretty genuine, and I got to NXT and Dusty Rhodes. I didn't know Dusty at all at the time, and Dusty sat me down and just turned on the camera and just started talking to me. And the first thing I talked about was my family because they are who I am. So. But I will say I kind of do regret that they're so public because, like I said, there's a lot of idiots out there, and there's some people that make comments that are just absolutely despicable. And the reason they do that is because they want this right now. What I'm saying, somebody at home's going like, yes, I got him. Get a job or something, dude.
right.
But, so in a way I do regret it, but I don't think it would have been possible for me not to have them everywhere.
It would have been phony.
Yeah, because
Like it wouldn't have been
I was
genuine.
when I had 3,000 followers on Twitter. What I would talk about was my son and my wife.
Right.
Now I have like 600,000, but I'm still the same guy, so I can't
Kind of
help
a humble
it.
brag.
Is it?
Yeah, a little bit.
I wasn't trying to be humble about it.
How's it changed for you having a little girl?
I was really terrified, but my wife really wanted a girl. She needed a girl. So I was really praying the second one would be a girl because I didn't want her to just be, not that she would have been upset. She would have loved having another boy, but she just needed a girl. So when we got her, I was terrified just for everybody who's got a girl here, probably the same reason, or even if you don't have a little girl, you probably imagine why you'd be terrified, because the world is kind of a crazy place, and I don't know, you just automatically assume that a little girl, you need to protect her, you need to this and that, but then, I see who she is already, and she's 2.
Wow.
And she kicks my ass. So I think she'll be fine, and it's a blast to see her grow up, and it's a blast to see her relationship with her brother, and it's awesome. It's great. Yeah.
Does having kids make you because one of the things that struck me as we're talking is that you were that 20-year-old that had stone cold pictures and by the way, I'm 32, and if you go into my apartment, the first thing you see is a shelf, and it's not all the wrestling toys from when I was a kid. It's a Kevin Owens wrestling toy and a Finn Balor. They're all there. I'm buying them now. So that thing.
I'd still buy them, but they give them to me for free, so I'm sad. Yeah.
So you understand. But that sort of fanboy that was in you, it doesn't seem like it ever left.
No, I mean, no, not at all. I have I was drinking milk out of a Finn Balor glass yesterday. I took a picture. It's on my phone.
So you're like,
yeah. So no,
they make Finn Balor glass. No, I need one of the Finn Balor glasses too.
I have a John Cena glass, a Finn Balor glass, and a Kevin Owens glass. I don't know what that says about me, but they're there, and I use them all the time.
How does that conversation go? Do they go here, we're making glasses with your logo if you want one, and then do you go, can I also have the...
That's the part that the best is they didn't give me the glasses, because there's some of the merchandise that's easier for them to give us than others, because, the glasses are only available on www.shop.com, so you have to, it's a different process. Anyway.
Right.
I went to the Montreal Comic Con, where everybody knew who I was.
Sure.
And they saw me buy the John Cena glass and the Finn Balor glass. And the woman at the thing was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we sold out of yours yesterday." I'm like, "I'm good with those too, thank you." So I put money down.
Right.
Again, it was a choice I made.
Right,
yes,
right.
Yes.
And John Cena is looking at his royalties and going, "Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that."
I never considered that part. He can't see me, but he can see my money on his check, so we're good.
Do you have a favorite piece of memorabilia that you've collected over the years?
I guess it's not exactly something I collected, but the day Dusty Rhodes passed away, we had a show in NXT. I don't remember exactly where we were that night, but we might have been Philly. I drew polka dots on the KO that was a shirt like that guy has, and I drew polka dots on it, and I kept that shirt. And then I did it again this year because I wrestled on the anniversary of Dusty's passing as well, and I did the same thing, and I've kept those shirts. Some of the shirts I give to WWE for the WWE auction, and I sign them, and people can buy them, and I've given some to charities to auction off, but those two I don't think I'll ever be able to part with, just because, I don't know, Dusty meant a lot to me, just like he meant a lot to everybody who worked with him. So
it's pretty remarkable that you had just said that you didn't know Dusty at all.
I knew Dusty for 10 months, and he made more, in those 10 months, he made a bigger impact on me than anyone has in my career. And there's people I've known for 15 years, and I'm not saying they didn't help me, they have, but nobody made an impact on me like Dusty did, and I knew him for 10 months.
How did he make the impact? What was it that...
he'd run promo class at the Performance Center. So there was that. Just his advice and just the insight he gives on how to talk and how to communicate and how to make people feel what you want them to feel. But honestly, just as a guy, it's hard to put into words, I'd go sit in his office and we'd just talk about wrestling and family and life. But I would just walk out of that office feeling like I know so much more about wrestling and life. It's really hard to describe, but he was a really unique guy, and I miss him a lot. Everybody does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't go by mistake, right? The fact that everybody has this reaction and nobody has an unkind word. Who are some of the other big influences in your career? Obviously, not on that.
We should ask him, too, on the memorabilia side. When you signed with WWE, did you go to, a room where you got to pick anything out?
So that guy in the front row said there's a merchandise room.
And you mean in like the offices or whatever?
I don't know.
The
He knows.
headquarters?
There's this like secret room where
I've
you
heard
like
this.
sign.
I've heard this legend, but I've never been there, so I've never witnessed it myself.
Because you clean them out. So who else?
Well,
was a
obviously
big impact?
Steve Austin was a huge influence. My first favorite wrestler, which means the first wrestler I saw appear on a screen when I first watched my first wrestling show, was the British Bulldog. And I was always a British Bulldog fan afterwards.
Wow.
But then a couple hours later, I saw Shawn Michaels wrestle Diesel at WrestleMania 11, and that was it. I saw Shawn Michaels. At the time, believe it or not, I was a pretty scrawny kid. I was 11 years old, and I thought, if that small guy can do that and wrestle with the dude who's 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that, then so can I. You know? And that's Shawn Michaels is basically the reason why I decided I was going to be a wrestler. My dad had rented the tape, you know, he was watching it for himself, and I happened to come in and watch it with him. When he saw my interest, my parents started cultivating it, and, you know, when I told them I wanted to be a wrestler, they didn't say, oh, that's cute, now just go be serious somewhere else. They were just, okay, so we'll do that. And then they pushed me towards it, they embraced it.
And how old were you when you started training? Because that's an important...
I started training when I was 14.
Right, so most of the time, a kid who's training at 14 has to trick their parents into letting him.
No, they were more than that. My mom like put me in touch with somebody at her work who knew a local guy who was a wrestler and had a wrestling school. Like they made it happen, you know. So you know, like people ask me who my biggest influences were in wrestling. I say Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, my parents, because without them I wouldn't have gotten anywhere, and you know, without them pushing me for it. And then there's Steve Corino, who I met. Oh man. I think it was in 2004. We had a match in Quebec City, and he kind of took me under his wing right away. Then we lost track of each other throughout the years, but then in 2009, he came to Ring of Honor where I was, and we picked things right back up where we had left off. And you know, he's been a mentor and one of my best friends ever since.
At what point in your career did you establish the confidence of knowing that you're good? Because you don't get to do, you know, all joking aside, you can't pull off the performance that you pull off every single night without you knowing that you're good.
I honestly, the first time I felt like, okay, now I know I'm good was maybe 2011.
Really?
Yeah, I'd been doing this for 11 years. And, you know, I feel like I'm much better now than I was then. It's just, but I think a part of that, like it took me 11 years to feel like I was good. Is probably part of why I'm here now too, because I never stopped trying to get better. Not that I have, I still seek the same thing. I always want to get better, and I always try to get better. But I guess not feeling that you're good. But it's, you know, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because I think it's important also to have confidence in yourself when you're in the ring. Because if you don't, I think people watching can tell. So if for 11 years I had been walking around like I'm scared and I'm not supposed to be here, then I wouldn't be here.
Right.
So I knew I was doing some things right, and I knew I belonged in a ring. But I think it took like till 2011 to really feel like, okay, I really know what I'm doing now. So yeah.
We heard Anderson and Gallows talk about how the first time they came out for WWE, they actually got those nervous butterflies a little bit again. Anywhere now do you still get those and still get excited by that feeling?
Oh, all the time. I mean, I think a part of why Anderson and Gallows got those butterflies were because they were like about to attack the Usos wearing like dress pants and a dress shirt, which I never had to do, thankfully. But there's like, I was 11 years old when I first saw my first WWE show, and I told myself I have to wrestle for WWE. And it took me 20 years to get there. That's a long time. And throughout those 20 years, I never doubted myself, but at the same time, I did consider like, maybe it's not going to happen, you know?
Right, because you're watching your peers.
Yeah. So the fact that it's happening now, and, you know, WrestleMania was obviously something I'll never forget, but so was a show in Louisville, Kentucky a few months ago. Because every time I step in a WWE ring, to me, it's like, it's so cliche, right? A dream come true, but there's really no other way to put it.
Right.
That it is what it is, you know? And I don't think I'll ever lose that.
Do you like doing commentary? Because I feel like
I love it.
You do.
Love it, yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, all I have to do is mention it. And I think that you use it as a tool better than a lot of people, because I think, and I've talked about this before, I think when they allow one of you guys to do commentary, you've now got a live mic for sometimes 5, 10, 15, even longer minutes.
Yeah, you're probably talking for longer than you would be at any point where they hand you a microphone to go, okay, you have a microphone in the ring, but you got 2 minutes to make your point. I'm sitting there for the entire length of a match.
Right.
And on it, but I never go out there with a set goal. I just want to have fun, which is part of why it's part of what I do. A lot of times I go out to the ring for a match. I just want to have fun. It's the same mindset when I do commentary, and I don't know. I feel that stuff is contagious. If you're having a good time, people can tell, and I think people start having a good time. But commentary is wonderful, and it's definitely I've been asked before, is it something that, once it's time to stop wrestling, is it something you'd be into? Obviously, I mean, I'm already thinking about it, and hopefully it's something that's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, you wouldn't mind that, right? Everybody, yeah.
Come on.
That was weak.
I guess I won't do it then.
Before you got to WWE, even a few years before, the generation that's there now, all of you guys were on the indies together. I'm talking about you and Rollins and Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, who's retired now, but everybody, Punk for a little while. Did you all realize or even think that all of you would be there? Or because when you guys were all on the indies, WWE was this thing that looked very, very different from what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that we ever talked about it, but I think everyone knew we'd end up there. Like, I can't pinpoint a moment where I ever sat with Rollins and Daniel Bryan and say, hey, we're going to be in WWE in a couple of years. But I think everybody had their own path, everybody had their own goal, and everybody was just busy trying to make it on their own in a way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I knew what I had to do if I wanted to get here. I'm sure Rollins knew. Everybody had their own way of looking at things, but I think ultimately we all had the same end goal. But, it's not lost on any of us that now we're all here. And, we're pretty much all at the top. Like, we're all main eventing. We're all having these matches. We're all, a focal part of Raw or SmackDown. And that's that part, beyond being in WWE, that part that we're all doing so well is even more fulfilling, that
right.
Not only do we make it, but we're all doing well here.
Have you ever felt bad about ripping a little kid's sign? Like,
Never.
Has there ever been?
Not once. I feel great. It's a great feeling.
You do.
Yeah.
Like, there's never been the thing where, okay, I'll wait till the cameras are off and I'll go apologize.
I even had one, and it wasn't a little kid. He was like 22 at least. Yeah, I was wrestling AJ Styles, and he had an AJ Styles sign, so I went to get it. And before I ripped it, he begged me, like, please, no, look on the other side. I'm like, oh, must be a Kevin Owens sign. Uh-huh. I turn it, it's a Roman Reigns sign. So I ripped it like 5 times.
He's begging you,
please, don't do it to Roman. I don't know. He's putting conditioners in hair somewhere. You don't even know. Don't worry about it.
That's what you said. No, Roman needs this one. He needs it.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I feel like you bring the art of bad guy wrestling back. A lot of time, people have been so concerned with kind of still being likable. Like, I'll be the villain, but I kind of still want to be likable. And then you come across, and not only do you, insult people, but you perform, as we were talking about, in the ring, specifically being like, okay, I know what they want here, so I'm going to give them the complete opposite.
I can't say that I do that. I love that you're showering me with this
you don't
credit.
Do that.
I don't.
So you don't wind
Honestly,
up for like
I just do what I like.
Because I've seen you run at somebody as if something spectacular is coming, and then you just kind of stop and put a headlock on.
Yeah, because that's what I feel like doing. I don't not necessarily do it for the guy who really wanted to see a flip. I'm just, you know what I mean?
You're just there for the...
I just do what I like. I do what entertains me.
Right.
If it doesn't entertain others, then I don't know, too bad, I guess.
Right.
I honestly, in a weird way, I'm my main audience, and I know it goes completely against what I'm supposed to be working for, but I do things that I think I'd find entertaining, and then it trickles down.
And
by the way, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I hope you realize. Some people really don't like what I do, and that's fine.
Right.
Because I love what I do.
No, I'm aware. I read the internet, as it were, so I know that there are those people out there, but I think it's okay that you go out to satisfy yourself, because you're also the 20-year-old that has a room full of Stone Cold pictures. So it's not like you're apart from the product. You know what I mean?
No, like, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. I obviously I know what I do works.
Right.
And if it didn't work, I would adjust myself to make sure that I still have a job and food for the kids that eat all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I'm doing works, and I enjoy what I'm doing. That's the mindset I have.
Well, we all enjoy it too. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to do some Q&A. Are we happy about that? All right, cool. Well, Kevin Owens is sticking around. Katie Linendoll is sticking around. A little bit of a delayed reaction, but a reaction nonetheless.
I have to ease into this chair like an old man in a hot bath because I'm just worried it's going to...
You're just watching your SummerSlam match go away.
I just try not to move.
Well, why don't we... Kevin Owens is here, still. But I didn't mean he's still here. I mean he's being still as to
I'm
not...
also still here.
But you're
so it
still
works
here.
on so many levels.
It does. And Katie Linendoll is here.
Still.
Why don't we get Kathy Kelly, who is still here as well, to get that microphone out. Get your hands up if you want to ask Kevin Owens a question, and we'll do some Q&A. Kathy, who do you got over there?
How you doing? My name is Luis Portillo, born in Mexico, raised in Queens.
Okay.
My question
Social
is...
security number, please.
It's fake. I can't talk about that.
I didn't hear. Just ask your question.
Sure.
I already know so much about you. I feel like we've...
Yeah. It's obvious that a dream match is Kevin Owens versus Brock Lesnar. I've seen you use the F5 in the Independents, for example, one against Jimmy Jacobs, which was pretty brutal. If you use the F5 against Brock, how would you feel and how would you think he would feel taking it?
I'd feel great till he stands right back up and rips my head off, I think.
Then you'd feel
like,
pain.
I have 5 blocks.
Who's next? Let's go to this person.
Hello, I'm Vince from Queens.
Oh, what's going on?
Kevin, you're my wife's favorite wrestler. Now, last time you were on Sam Roberts' show, you mentioned how much you love going to the zoo, and I just want to know, what is your spirit animal?
I've been asked that before, and I don't understand what that means.
Does it?
But I guess my favorite animal is a panda, so that's, yeah.
Because they're adorable and vicious.
They're adorable, but they can rip your face off in one fell swoop.
That's it.
It's wonderful.
That's it. Who do we got?
Hey, this is Zach from Oceanside, New York. Okay, so could you see yourself being a Paul Heyman guy?
In a way, I feel like I am a Paul Heyman guy in the sense that Paul Heyman appreciates wrestlers who've been through it all and have grinded to get there. And I know I've had conversations with Paul, and I know he likes what I do. But as far as on WWE TV, I really feel like there's only one Paul Heyman guy. He already has him. His name's Brock. Paul works for Brock. And I also don't think I necessarily need somebody to speak for me. Not that Brock does, as we saw on Monday when he told Heath Slater that he couldn't care less about his kids.
That's what he said?
That's what I heard.
Paraphrasing.
But yeah, in a way, I think there's a lot of Paul Heyman guys out there. Like there's guys that Paul Heyman appreciates, and I'm sure he'd gladly help us all out if he could. You know what I mean? But I don't necessarily think that I need somebody on that level on television.
I think that's right. Who do we got?
We got Matt from Staten Island.
Hi, I was just wondering if you have any opinions on the reemergence of John Zandig, and if you have any good Zandig stories from CZW.
It's a great question.
Well, I'm glad he's back. If only for just, I don't get to watch much wrestling outside of WWE, but I'll see, on Twitter once in a while, I'll see a little John Zandig. Is it a GIF or a GIF?
It's a GIF.
Some people say it's a GIF.
That's a peanut butter brand.
Once in a while, I see a little John Zandig clip, and I'm always entertained by it. As far as good stories, I honestly have too many, none of which I can really tell here. But he's a character. If you don't know who John Zandig is, please Google him and enjoy.
Yes. Yes, very much.
We got Jaden over here.
Jaden.
What is your favorite match in your career?
Oh.
I guess my favorite, there's so many, but I guess my favorite one would be against CJ Parker at NXT. It was my first match in WWE, and the reason why it's my favorite is because, one, I've grown to love CJ Parker. He's one of my favorite people on earth, and he's not in WWE anymore. He's out there, is in Japan doing his thing, and he's doing great. So that's a part of it. But also, it was my first WWE match, which is something I'd waited for, for 20 years. So it's always going to be special. And like I said, I've had a lot that I really liked, but I think that's the one that takes the cake.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Jimmy from Long Island. What's your thoughts on the final deletion?
Oh, the Matt Hardy's final deletion.
I thought it was really fascinating, really interesting, really creative. The most memorable part for me isn't anything that happened that people would even remember. But at the very end, the Jeff Hardy symbol gets lit up on fire. He falls off the top of that thing onto a mound of dirt, but you don't see it. You don't notice it. And I think that's the craziest thing about it. It's probably the craziest thing that happens beyond them shooting fireworks at each other or anything. The craziest part is him falling off a 12-foot symbol onto a mound of dirt, and nobody noticed.
How do you feel about Senor Benjamin?
That's the gardener guy. I don't care for him.
Good.
He's got an attitude.
Good. I like that you have definite opinions. You're like, let me think. Yeah, no, I don't like him. I don't like him at all. Where are you, Kathy?
I'm over here. We got Isaiah from Brooklyn.
How you doing, Kevin?
Good, how are you, buddy?
With
Next.
Adam...
Oh.
I just wanted to know your thoughts. With Adam Cole in the Bullet Club now, do you secretly, fantasize about a reunion of Rushmore?
Well, I'd love for Adam Cole to come here. And I feel like there's no way he won't at some point.
He won't.
But I don't worry, I guess in a way, wrestling with each other in the same company is one thing, but I'm still friends with all those guys. We still talk all the time. So it's not really a reunion because we're still, you see what I mean? But of course, I'd love to see any of those guys here for sure.
That
Got
makes
Sean
sense.
from Brooklyn.
What was it like meeting Vince for the first time?
Vince for the first time.
It was surreal, but I met him a couple times and just shook his hand hi and bye. So those meetings weren't particularly memorable besides the fact that I just shook Vince McMahon's hand. The first real interaction I had with him, though, was the night I showed up on Raw to confront Cena. I went into his office to talk to him a little, and he didn't want anybody to know. So he told me, don't tell anybody what you're doing, just do it. I'm like, okay. You want me to be in gear? Yep. Well, when I put my gear on and I walk in the hallway, the guys are going to ask me why. So what do I say? And he goes, you mean the other wrestlers? I'm like, yeah, that's right. And he goes, well, why don't you just tell them to go themselves? And you know what? I did, and it totally worked. So that was, that was great. You can't have a better first interaction with Vince McMahon than that. That's amazing.
Was that the beginning of a good relationship? Is he a Kevin Owens guy?
I don't know if he was from the start, and I don't know if he is now. But I think, I talked to him, and I think we do have a good relationship, and I think he knows I'm good. And that's the best I can ask for.
That's all you need. Who do we got, Kathy?
We've got Remy back here.
I'm a big Kevin Owens fan, and I want to know, what advice would you have for a person like myself that wants to get in the wrestling business?
Well, it's going to sound like a John Cena t-shirt, but it's very true. I was told so many times I couldn't do it. Not I don't know how many wrestlers have told, my teachers would say this and that. I've been told by people in wrestling, you can't do that. And I did. So just don't let anybody tell you can't. And never give up!
That was like John Cena meets Bob Backlund a little bit, too.
What's that?
It's John Cena meets Bob Backlund.
Is it?
There's a little Bob Backlund in there.
I don't know. You met Bob Backlund?
I have. I've spent some time with him.
Right.
Hard work pays off, right?
That's right.
Hi, I'm Jason from Yonkers, New York. I was wondering, out of everybody on the roster, who would you pop a powerbomb onto the apron the most?
Who deserves it the most? I'm gonna defer this question probably to Kevin, and we'll just listen.
Hang on.
Right.
There's so many good choices. Well, it's a lot less possible now because we're not on the same brand. But I would have loved to do that to Shane McMahon so that it leads to a match eventually.
Now, is that the kid in you talking again? Like you grew up with these Shane McMahon matches and you want that experience?
I would see Shane have these crazy matches when he's not even a wrestler, technically. And I always thought, man, we'd have, even when I was like 16 and I didn't know what a killer match was, really, we'd have a killer match. And now I know we'd have a killer match. So,
do you have a favorite Shane moment?
Well, his match against Kurt Angle at King of the Ring was just so, I don't know, man. That whole match is just crazy. So I don't know if it's one moment, but that match in particular was...
All the moments in that one are tied for
just
first. Yeah.
Ball up.
Yeah. Who do we got, Kathy?
We've got Will from New Jersey.
Hey, Kevin. Good to see you again. I just wanted to know, since it's SummerSlam themed, what's your favorite SummerSlam of all time?
I like that.
Okay, I can't tell you the year, but my favorite SummerSlam match is Lance Storm versus Edge. I think it might have been 2001. I don't know, 2002 maybe. I don't remember 2001. They just had this incredible match. And it was so underrated in my opinion. And I wrestled Lance Storm several years ago. And I told him, like, man, that match with Edge from SummerSlam is probably one of my favorite matches of all time. So whatever SummerSlam that is.
I love that.
We've got Andrew from Queens.
Hey, Kevin, just wondering, when you came into the WWE, did you feel like you had a chip on your shoulder? Like you said, like people didn't really believe on you or believe in you, maybe because you didn't fit the prototype of like the big guy or like maybe one of the cruiserweights. Do you still feel like you have that chip on your shoulder with all you accomplished?
I gotta say, I don't think I ever really had it. Because to me, when those people would tell me that, I would be like, nah, well, you're wrong. It's okay. It's okay to be wrong. As long as I end up being right. And I was right. So right. I never, like, of course, I wanted to prove those people wrong, but it never really bothered me enough that was my motivation itself. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you've heard about it. I mean, speaking of naysayers, and I don't even know if you want his name mentioned, but I've spoken to Jim Cornette, and he told me that one of the reasons is because you finally started listening to the things that he was saying.
So let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
He did say that. I know he said that.
He did. He said it to me.
Jim used to not like that I wrestled in a t-shirt and shorts, that I was not jacked, and that I had a beard, and that I basically did whatever I wanted. I don't think I've changed at all. And that's okay. You know why? Because if Jim Cornette is not right, then he feels like, I don't know, he just feels unwell. So you know what, Jim? Dude, you were right.
Who's next up there, Kathy?
We've got Nick from Brooklyn.
Do you remember where you were when Foley went off the cage, and what was your reaction?
Yeah, I was in my parents and I had just moved from our apartment to my grandmother's house because their house had burned down. They had just rebuilt it, and my grandparents just didn't want to live by themselves anymore, so my entire family moved in with them. And by that point, the apartment was completely empty except for one mattress and one TV, because that's where we still had cable. So it was me and a couple of my friends in that empty apartment in the living room. And I think I was on the phone with my dad when it happened. I just started screaming like a maniac. He hung up on me. So.
No spoiler. There it is. Somebody with.
Hi, my name is
that
George,
precious title.
and I'm from Brooklyn. How do you feel about the name of the WWE Universal Championship, and how would you want it to look?
That is the one you'd be fighting for, as you're a Raw guy.
I thought the name was weird at first, but it's really grown on me. I kind of figured they would just call it WWE Heavyweight Championship, but at the same time, that doesn't really, like heavyweight. It's anybody can win that title, so heavyweight just doesn't fit. Universal kind of embodies that. So at first, I did think it sounded a little weird, but it's grown on me quite a bit now. As far as how it'll look, I have no idea. I don't know what it. If you're asking me what I would like it to look like, I think a nice first of all, I think I'd make it silver for some reason, just to maybe be different. And then nice silver plate with like my face in jewels. Yeah.
So kind of like a nickel, but with your face on it.
Sure.
Yeah, that could work.
I mean, the tag titles look like giant pennies with two knights. So that, but silver, and instead of two dudes with helmets, it's just both faces are me looking in separate directions, different directions.
The all-watching Kevin Owens. Who do we got over there, Kathy?
We've got Eddie from Harlem.
Eddie.
What's up, Kev? Big fan. I got to ask this question on behalf of Sam because I feel like he's not going to ask it. Since you're teaming with Chris Jericho this Sunday, could you let him know that Broken Matt Hardy was on the Sam Roberts Wrestling podcast before he was on Chris Jericho's podcast?
No, I'm not going to let him know that.
Could you ask him why he blocked me?
Nah.
No.
He blocked me too.
Who's next over there, Kathy? It may come up in conversation, though, right?
I don't think so.
You don't-
No. We really just talk about his scarf, so.
Hi, my name is Christopher. I'm from Queens. I was just curious, is there a piece of advice from Dusty that kind of comes back to you from time to time or that you go back to?
A specific piece of advice from Dusty.
Okay, so this isn't advice, but for some reason it stuck with me, and it just embodied how he, like, the attitude he had that day kind of made me realize that it's okay for me to be me. It's very strange, but I'll try to explain. So there was this thing, and I don't know how they are now anymore. I don't think they're like this anymore, but they would do, ooh, cool ringer. They would be like we would put on little shows at the Performance Center where they would have a couple matches, and the only audience was the wrestlers and the coaches. And it was just to give some of the guys experience that they not necessarily have yet. But when it wasn't Matt Bloom that was in charge, they would make us set up the guardrails as if it was an actual show, and there was fans to be held back, which was just work for no reason. Like, but it was just to give us something to do, I guess. And on one of those particular afternoons, Dusty wouldn't usually attend those shows, but that day he decided to attend. So I pretended like I put on a guardrail, and then I just went to sit down next to Dusty, and we just started talking as everybody's setting this stuff up. I was like, what are they doing? I'm like, oh, well, we act like it's an actual NXT show. It's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, they even sing the national anthem. He's like, no way. I'm like, I'm telling you. He's like, I don't believe you. I'm like, okay. So whatever. Finally, everything gets set up. Like, okay, everybody go take their spot. So I just go sit in the crowd on the other side of where Dusty is. Dusty's by the coach's desk or whatever. And sure enough, the ring announcer walks in and says, everyone please rise for the national anthem. So I stand up and I look across at Dusty, who's standing up. Like, at first he's on his phone, so he's not paying attention. And then he hears the music, and I see him. And he looks, and he sees everybody standing up, so he just stands up, looks at me, and goes, what? And then, I don't know. That moment, to me, was just like, even Dusty thinks this is ridiculous. It's okay for us to think it's ridiculous. And it's okay for, you see what I mean? It just, I saw him being him all the time. And of course he was Dusty Rhodes, so he could be him all the time. But I don't know, I think that's why he got to where he got, without being what every other professional wrestler was. So I kind of took a lot of that example, because I'm not what other professional wrestlers are either. You see what I mean? So that was a really long story, but his advice was...
We got time for two more.
Hey, Harry from Brooklyn. This could kind of be a controversial question, but there have been comparisons.
Next!
You've been compared...
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Just tell me in my ear first, and I'll tell you if it's okay. Go right ahead.
He has permission.
All right, so the time that you got into into WWE, there's been a lot of comparisons between you and your career with CM Punk.
Whoa.
So what are your thoughts on Punk's whole WWE career and what he's up to right now?
So, I mean, I don't know what he's up to right now. I know what he's supposed to be doing, and I wish him all the best. But here's what I'd like you to do. If you ever see CM Punk ask him what he thinks of my accomplishments. All right.
I love that.
Sean from PA. How do you feel about part-timers being exempt from the wellness policy?
You're gonna have to repeat that. I didn't understand.
How do you feel about part-timers being exempt from the wellness policy?
Oh, that's none of my business. I don't care. I get tested, and the only thing I test for is pizza, and I'm fine, and I'm doing great. So.
All right, we'll do one more. This will be the last one.
Hi, my name's Christian. Simple question. Are you still in contact with El Generico?
No, he died.
Well, there you have it.
Wait. Can we get this kid real quick?
Oh, sure, yeah. A little kid in the...
Take your time.
In the Teen Ambrose show.
Hi, I'm Brandon from New Jersey.
What's up, buddy?
I was just wondering why you hate Michael Cole so much.
He had a great question.
I can't answer that because I kind of don't know. But I will say that I think Michael Cole is a fantastic commentator when you put it next to Byron Saxton.
Hey, it's Sam Roberts. I hope you enjoyed that wrestling interview from Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. You can go to notsam.com to subscribe to that podcast. But I upload videos like that on this YouTube channel all the time. So if you don't already subscribe, subscribe now. It's on the side of the page. I made it real easy. Click the button. Subscribe to the page. Subscribe to the page.